You're probably wondering how you got here. It's the Woodworking Morning Show.
Yay! Good morning!
It's Friday.
It's Friday! Good morning, everybody. I'm Mark.
And I'm Nicole.
Today we're going to talk to you about some woodworking stuff. I've even got some things to give away.
What?
I did a whole bunch of cleaning after I finished a big project. And I said, I don't want that! I don't want that! I don't want that! And
Here, Nicole, ship it out.
Ship them out. So we've got a few things to give away, and hopefully 3 lucky winners will go home with that.
They're not going to go home. They're already home. I'm just going to mail it to them.
I meant that sort of, I don't know. I'm lost for words this morning. I can't find the proper words. There will be nothing clever coming out of my mouth today. So I just want to thank a couple people who helped us out on Patreon. That's patreon.com/woodwhisperer. Excuse me, Patrick Pendergast, Matt Riordan, Brian Thorpe, Rich Feltham, and Corey Freeman.
I feel like a few of those names we've already read before. But I don't know.
I feel like that every week.
I don't know how Patreon does that.
I don't know. It shows up in that list,
right.
and I say the names,
It's
Nicole.
all right. We love you.
I just read what's on the teleprompter.
We double love you.
Yes. So, hey, quick reminder, if you are looking to buy something from either one of our stores, the WoodWhisperer store on the TWW site or the one inside the Guild, you want to make that purchase pretty soon, because we have some changes happening in the store. I don't know how the availability is going to be, how fast we'll be able to ship things out. So I don't want anyone to be disappointed. But I want to show you one of the new products that we have. Were you going to say something?
Yes. I was going to say I am behind on mask making for like the store.
Mask maker, make me a mask.
I'm currently making 66 masks for the teachers at our son's school for teacher appreciation.
Holy moly, Nicole.
It's a big, big project that I'm doing, but I do have, I don't know how many I have left, but I put 7 in this morning.
Oh, okay, in our store?
In our WoodWhisperer store.
So the woodwhisperer.com/store.
Yeah.
With a beautiful picture of me modeling a face mask. That's a good one. Here's another thing you could find in the store. This one is in the Guild store, which is the woodwhispererguild.com/store. This is a new product we came up with. This is with DFM Toolworks. They do all of our scraper products, but I kind of got tired of the classic gooseneck scraper because the gooseneck has a lot of it kind of turns in on itself, and that little tail that it has a lot of useless space, and it's real estate that could be used for other things. So I wanted one that had a nice wide radius on one side and a nice straightaway on the other side, so it becomes a much more versatile scraper, and it's a series of radii that I actually use in my work a lot more. So I find this to be a much more functional scraper for curves. Let's talk about like chair seats, stool seats. And the bonus is it looks like a mouse, and that's why I call it the mouse. My mom pointed out though, if you hold it and cover up the other hole, it looks like a whale. So depending on your perspective on life,
it does look like a little whale.
It might be a whale or a mouse. But these are now available for sale, and if you're interested in this in particular, you want to get on that quickly before we start having some shipping issues in the store. All right, so lots of cool stuff there. Go check it out. We've got a couple different scrapers now. We've got the big Mamma Jamma one, the real thick one, and then we have a regular scraper, and then now we have the mouse scraper.
I'll put a link to the Guild store where those are at.
Yeah, it's a little confusing. You know, we're always going to have these 2 stores. Because there are some Guild-specific things that we don't necessarily want on the free side of things. But right now we're in the middle of transitioning. So some of the stuff that's in the Guild will eventually be in the other store. So we apologize for that confusion.
Let's see. Somebody just asked me about my Joanne. Yeah, I put my Joanne's order.
Did it ever go through?
It did go through. Half of it got canceled because they didn't have it. But whenever I do my orders, I just do way more than I need because I know half of it will be canceled.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's a logic I use for anything I buy. I just always get way more than I need, just in case something's canceled. And that's why I give free stuff away all the time.
Fabric, but it's really cool. I got I got some Beatles fabric. I know that you're gonna love that.
I had to cancel my YouTube Music account. It's like $15 a month, and I'm like, I don't want the Beatles. I thumbed it down
Why do you not
1,000
like the
times.
Beatles?
Because, Nicole, I'm sorry, I respect what they have done for the world of music.
I love the Beatles.
And their influence on other musicians, but it's like nails on a chalkboard with
Really?
British accents.
Oh, stop.
It is. It's really bad, Nicole.
Oh.
It's bad.
I'm very disappointed to hear this.
It's so bad. But I had to cancel the membership because I'm like, you guys, get your crap together.
So I go, hey, YouTube, play the Beatles. And they just play Beatles for me all day, and it's awesome.
Right, but I'm thumbing down constantly. That should override anything you were doing to listen. So YouTube Music is garbage. Just to let you know, don't waste your money on it. You know, go to Spotify, Pandora, something else. Until they get that stuff fixed.
But anyway,
it's got nothing to do with the show.
I got some cool Beatles fabric that I'm going to make a mask for my mom because she's a big Beatles fan.
That's super. I know she gets mad at me every time I talk crap about the Beatles.
I feel like you're attacking my mom. That's what I feel like.
I think your mom feels like I'm attacking her too. Hey, my mom likes the Beatles.
Yeah, she likes the Eagles.
She likes the Eagles as well.
Yeah. Oh, we got some super chats. Daniel Childs just said, Nicole, for the school Maz, thank you for your quick email response. You're welcome, Daniel. You're the reason why I put those 7 that I had in the store.
Jason's suggestion is to get a family plan so we could each have our own account, but that's not the point, Jason. The point is when I thumb a band or a song down, it should listen to that thumb down. Why is the thumb down there if it doesn't work? It doesn't work. Know what I'm saying?
Clearly somebody thumbed down us.
And it worked. I looked at that and I'm like, what have I done wrong? What can I possibly do better next time? Actually, that didn't occur to me at all. Anyway, you want to do some questions?
Sure, let's do some questions.
Okay, look, I just at least...
How many weeks are we into this quarantine? I don't know, but...
It doesn't matter. It's all good. Richard does agree with me. Their music is terrible.
Yeah, shush.
He could be talking about the YouTube app, but I think he's talking about the Beatles.
I don't want to hear it.
Listen, I get it.
I don't want to hear it.
I respect...
I'm going to start dogging out...
you can't.
All of your music. Flogging Molly.
I was going to say, you probably can't even pronounce the names of the bands I listen to. Okay. I got more thumbs down now because of probably the Beatles comments. Well, how does Philip Morley feel about that? Look,
we're not talking about woodworking.
Let me tell you something about Philip Morley. A little known secret. It's a fake accent, okay? All right.
No, it's not.
He's had people say that to him.
Really?
Yeah. On YouTube. He's like, it's his fake accent. He's like, are you kidding me? No, it's not.
Yeah.
All right, we go, oh no, the thumbs down are getting out of control. Okay, let's do some woodworking questions before YouTube speaks its mind. Yoso. Okay, by the way, these questions are all from Patreon. Nicole is getting questions from the live chat, so ask away and she will copy and paste. Okay, Yoso says he's building a block set out of hard maple and he's trying to sand small pieces, like about 1.25 inch sided cubes. I'm planning on clamping my ETS 150 sander upside down on my bench and use that as a random version of a stationary sander. Does this sound reasonable? Any other ideas of how to sand these pieces? There's tons of them. Also, I need to put a really shallow 1/16 round over on them, but bringing those pieces to the router table is really scary. Any recommendations? I probably would use the router table. It's not as scary as it sounds if you're only doing like a 1/16 or an 1/8 inch round over. You do have to watch your hands. You may even come up with some kind of a little notched jig that holds everything so you don't have to have your hands that close. You can even get, I've done this before, with a clamp. All right, so especially if you have an old style wooden clamp, you could use that to grip the sides of the block and run that through, keeping your fingers away. It's a bit of a pain in the butt because you're going to have to change positions quite often. One thing you can do with blocks, depending on your process, when they're still long pieces, I imagine you have long pieces that are the right thickness and width. You just then have to cut them to length. When they're in that state, round them over then, and even sand them at that time. You at least can cover a number of the faces by doing it at that stage. Then after you cut, now you still have some edges and some faces that you need to sand, but it's not nearly as bad. The hands are moving. It's one of those days, Nicole.
I know.
I'm excited. It's not nearly as bad, and you've already, let's see, what would that be? On a cube, you would have done 4 edges, right? So that reduces your time at the router table by quite a bit. And then when you're at the router table with those long pieces, it's no problem running them over the router bit. For sanding, You know, I've tried that a few times, and I find that a random orbit sander doesn't really behave the way you expect it to when it's upside down and the pad is in the air and you just put something on it. I find that they really do what they're supposed to do when there's weight on them. And maybe it's just the sanders I've used. I'm curious if anyone else has luck with that. But with cubes, I would be tempted to take a piece of sandpaper, tape that sucker down to the workbench, and then attack it like that. Each face, spin it. You could work really quickly. You're not going to accidentally sand your finger off. That's how I would do it. It's a bit more manual, but I imagine this is not an ongoing thing for you. Once you're done, you're probably done with this project. So I would put the sandpaper down on a flat surface and sand it that way.
Connell Wright in the chat just said, you guys have become family viewing in our house. Love you guys. Thanks for all you do.
Hope you don't like the Beatles. Because there goes that relationship.
Somebody said that you can't be perfect.
That's true. That's true. I get it. Look, it's not them, it's me.
Yeah, it is you.
Okay, Jeff Barry says, I'm not completely new to woodworking, but have not ventured down the dovetail path yet. Oh, shoot. Shoot nuggets, Nicole. I wanted to bring a drawer in here. He says, haven't gone down a dovetail path yet, but when doing dovetail joints, which is the tail and which is the pin? I hear everyone talk about doing pins and tails first, but which is which? Okay, so the way I explain this usually is with a drawer. In a drawer, your tails are always going to be on your sides and your pins are going to be your front or your back. And if you think about the way they lock in, those tail pieces, they're shaped like a bird's tail, a dovetail, those go into that front piece and they lock in so that the motion of the drawer is front to back. That's the way that the joint resists being pulled apart. If you pull the sides of a drawer and put pressure out this way, that's the weak side, but we never do that with a drawer, at least most of us. So as you're pulling through the front, the orientation of the joint is resisting the motion, right? And that's how you usually decide where you want your pins or your tails, is based on where the force is going to be applied. But the rule of thumb, just to keep it in the back of your mind, something to memorize: tails for the sides, pins for the fronts. Okay?
I got a super chat here.
Yeah.
From Danny Ross. PM parallelogram jointer worth the extra money.
Yeah, parallelogram jointers usually hold their settings a little bit better. They are easier to adjust typically to get them coplanar or parallel planes, to be more specific. Generally speaking, I personally find them to be worth it. Other types like the dovetail ways, the more traditional style, typically require shimming, and that is no fun. I'm not a fan of the shims.
Not a fun.
Not a fun, Nicole.
Well, and Powermatic just extended their sale
for another month, right?
For another month. So there you go. You got a question?
I do. Oh, I got so many questions.
You got so many.
Araya Woodworks says, so I've noticed during several morning shows that you have several good buddies. How many guild projects do I need to own to become a guild, or a good buddy? I almost said guild buddy.
A guild buddy.
Now, Chris Kalnassi, a good buddy of mine, he says, just don't own anything by Cremona, and I believe that puts you in the running. This is very true.
No, it's not.
No, I think the amount is 3.
Yeah.
3 guild projects. No, actually, usually the good buddy status happens when I see their names come
over
up
and over
constantly.
So, Araya, you're there.
Right.
Because I've seen your name so many times.
But I also, the problem is, Araya, maybe that's his last name. A lot of times it's when I have a person's full name. That's his business name.
Yeah.
So I would never say my good buddy business name, right? I would say my good buddy, I think his name's probably
Joe.
Horace. Horace Araya. And I would say my good buddy Horace Araya.
Yes.
Got it? Okay, Eric Liu says, Mark, I'm getting ready to pull my scroll saw down off the shelf to do part of a project for my wife. I realized I don't think I have ever seen you use one. Do you own one? Also seems like another tool that Nicole might enjoy if she ever gets any free time.
I have a scroll saw.
We have a jet scroll saw.
And I have project ideas that I want to do on that scroll saw. I just have a list of, I've gotten so many emails about the app this week that I need to fix. The mask, the kids.
It's not a high priority on her things that she wants to do. There are other things that she prefers to do outside of woodworking. So honestly, I don't know when she's going to get in here and touch it. Now, for me personally, I only used the scroll saw when I've done marquetry in the past. Outside of that, I haven't really done it, and I haven't done marquetry in a long time. So he's right. It's been a long time.
We had some ideas for some fun, easy little project for Halloween that we were going to use it, and I just...
Her priorities are in other places.
I got too much on my plate.
She's too busy screwing up my mix on YouTube Music. Okay, my good buddy Chris Calnassi says, if you had space for it, would you own a stroke sander? So a stroke sander, I did Philip Morley's shop tour recently and showed one of those. Think of it as a giant belt sander. I mean, huge. And then you could put a whole tabletop under it, and then you put a little bit of pressure on the belt, and you're moving this thing in and out, and you're going, I mean, it's nutso. I probably wouldn't own one of those. If I had the space and budget wasn't a concern, I would probably just get a big old wide belt sander, you know, like a Time Saver or something. The stroke sander is kind of neat, and I think that's a good budget solution. But if I'm going for it, I'm just going to get something that has a conveyor belt, and I go bloop, and it goes through, and I come out and I go, this is perfect. So, yeah, that's my answer to that.
Hey, guess what?
I love the yard work going on over there.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Just let us know if that noise gets to be too annoying. We'll shut some windows.
If you hear it, we can close the door.
It's just going to take me
Mike
time.
Scott says, no questions, just a Northwest Phoenix Guild member saying hi.
Hey-o.
He's in Peoria.
He's probably sweating his butt off right now.
Yeah, Mom said it was 107.
Whoa.
107!
That's crazy.
So, Mike, we used to live right by you.
Yep.
That's
almost
where
bought a house there, didn't we?
Peoria, over by the stadium. We were looking at a house there.
Yep. That's where the lemons were.
We went and stole some lemons.
Yeah, we went to look at a house, and they just had these gorgeous lemon trees.
Yeah.
And they were falling on the ground, going to waste, so.
We're like,
nothing like a fresh lemon. You take your fingernail and just grind it through the rind. And I can't smell anything.
So, Mike,
today.
hopefully your shop is air conditioned. Because, woo, 107.
Yeah, that's hot. Okay.
That's hot.
Tony Tang. Let's see. He says, how accurate is accurate enough? According to the 26-inch Woodpecker square, my table saw sled and MFT are both out by 0.0006 inches per inch. By the way, it's going to be this window that has to shut too.
That's annoying.
Yeah, no. Don't trip, don't trip. She just hit her foot on something. Good job. I don't know if you're going to be able to reach that. Sorry for the interruption, guys.
Keep on talking.
Let's see. So yeah, 0.0006. I know it sounds small, but when I check with my 26-inch square, it's just frustrating to see the 64th gap at the end. Okay, so how accurate is accurate enough? Over 26 inches to see a 64th, I don't know that I would even think twice about that. That's pretty small. So I think within the world of woodworking, you are probably fine. What winds up happening is we have ways of measuring things that exceed our ability to reproduce those things reliably. Just the way woodworking is, the variability in our tools, you apply just a little bit more pressure in a different spot, or you push it through at a different feed rate. There are so many variables that could cause that result to be different each time. You know, so I guess if you've tested this a number of times and you're absolutely sure it's consistently out the same amount, and then you wanted to hunt that down, you know, it's your time in the shop. You do what you want with it. I would not hunt that down. But it just, again, there's times where, you know, I see something that's a little bit off, and it might just be the pressure that I'm putting on there. And I know when I have other people in the shop, when Jason is here working, there are times where I'll cut something, and we both use the same setup, and then he'll cut something, and they're a little bit different. Why? Because of the way that I hold the workpiece. But as long as you do it consistently each time, usually it's not a problem in the project. So you sound well within the realm of things that I would not worry about personally.
Oh, yes. So loud. They're doing edge trimming, right?
That's what that sound is, where the little blade is slapping the concrete.
Robert Price said, towards my good buddy tab.
Okay, nice.
And then
He's getting there.
Shoemaker Woodworking, my good buddy fun.
Everybody wants to be on the good buddy list. Nice. Paul says, I saw in a video that it looks like you made some changes in the middle part of your Rubo workbench. If so, can you discuss and share? I'm about to build. Would love to know what changes you've made. I know I showed this before, but I think it was we were having technical problems that day, so I don't know if that's the reason this was missed. Let me show you.
Let me show you something.
Let me show you something. All right, so that's my workbench. You see there's the gap stop in the middle. What I did was I took away a portion of the gap stop and then filled it in with a piece of hardboard and 2 little walnut ramps. So it creates a little trough. And the reason for those ramps is if you drop something flat in there, like a washer, even a screw, it can be really hard to get that out. So if you just kind of run it to the side, it'll ride right up that ramp and come right out. You can see kind of how that's constructed here. Just a little piece of hardboard and 2 ramps. So that's it. There's really nothing really beyond that. But it's a pretty straightforward thing. Gives me some recessed space to just put random stuff like erasers and pencils. And it also is great for collecting wood chips.
I got a super chat here from Kevin Windsor. Hi, Kevin. Norwegian Wood is a great song. I don't like that song. And I think it's because in the 90s, PM Dawn did it, and I didn't like it.
Huh.
And so
I'm a big PM Dawn fan.
No, you're not. You probably couldn't even name a song of theirs.
Yeah.
Not Norwegian Wood, because that's not their song.
Some kind of love song. Something.
Set adrift on memory bliss. Lamar Bailey says, to bribe Nicole to start slipping in Beatles lyrics.
Go for it.
Help. I need somebody.
Yeah. Okay. Peter Villaluz says, I currently don't have a way to hold long boards to my bench to work on edges, and I've been looking at installing a leg vise or installing a long chop on a face vise. I won't be building a new bench anytime soon, and we'll need to retrofit to the bench to accept either of the vices. Which one would you install? I think you're going to be fine with either one of those, Peter. I would probably go with the easier one. I think you could even get a quick release vise on there. I would say that's probably going to be a little easier to install, but when you say face vise, that's kind of a generic term. Kind of depends on which vise you're talking about, specifically which brand. But I imagine that the face vise might be a little bit less involved than a leg vise for installation, but look into them depending on which one you're buying. One might be easier than the other. I would go with the easier one. And you said this is, something you're not going to change again for a while. Weigh the value of easy installation over what's going to give you the best long-term results. And both of them are going to do just fine for what you're asking to secure a piece to be able to plane the edge.
Todd made me laugh. Happiness is a warm nail gun.
Huh?
It's a Beatles. Happiness is a warm gun, I believe is the lyric.
Okay.
Won't you? Anyway.
I'm totally not amused by this at all.
I think I am. Chris, yes, I'm taking questions from the chat, but I basically have a log that I've been pulling as he's talking, and he talks a lot, so.
I got my chive today.
Okay.
It's my chive.
All right.
Okay.
I'm not amused.
I know. You feel about my pocket knives like I feel about your music.
By the way, I pulled laundry out.
Yeah, you found my little,
your
my little
knife
baby knife.
Was in your, it almost was washed, so.
Yeah, it would be cleaner. Okay, Adrian says, what's the best way to move all of my shop equipment? We may soon be joining you in Colorado Springs area. Let's see, I've got a saw stop, 1 3/4 horse, router table, drill press, a whole 2-car garage full of smaller tools. See, did you put your tools in bubble wrap, move them? How can I convince my wife to help me pack? I don't know about that last part. Good luck, because you probably have a house that needs packing. So, it doesn't sound like you have super heavy tools, right? When you have the heavy stuff, that's, I just got a moving company that was familiar with moving large equipment. And they
Jones, right?
Yeah, Jones Moving. And I won't say they didn't have any problem. There was a couple, issues with, like, they almost tipped over the table saw. Mm-hmm. I remember that was a blast.
That's fun.
But overall, they are no strangers to moving really, really heavy things. So they've got all kinds of tricks up their sleeve. Your goal is to break everything down, to take anything off that can come off. For instance, like a table saw. If you've got a big extension wing, take that off of there, right? Get it down to a really condensed thing so there's fewer things to break, fewer things for them to possibly grab, which, I know you want good handholds, but sometimes they grab the wrong thing. And they're lifting it by something that's gonna completely mess it up and knock it out of calibration. Ultimately, you're gonna recalibrate anyway, but you get my point. If you are doing, I don't know what kind of moving situation you're gonna have, pods are always a good thing. If you don't have really heavy tooling, if you could distribute the weight over the pod so it's balanced, I know people have used those quite a bit. We used that. I don't know if it was the Pods company specifically. I think we went with Mayflower or something like that. Everybody's got the Pods now.
Everybody got the time.
Everybody's got a case of the Pods.
The Pods.
So those can be really good if you have smaller tools. And then all you have to do is be able to get it up the step that goes into the pod, which isn't too bad. Just get a friend, you should be able to do that.
Not too bad.
And I do not wrap everything other than small, more fragile things. I get big totes and I start to wrap my planes in blankets, sheets. If I have bubble wrap or something to protect them a little bit, absolutely do that.
There's some inexpensive moving blankets you can get
moving blankets would be good. Yep. And you know what? I've got a couple of videos that documented my moves. Check those out. You might see some things happening with the process. 2 or 3 different move videos that I've done. You'll see what I did.
How many times have I moved?
Too many times.
Got a super chat here from Justin Ford.
Justin Ford.
Do you use a sharpening jig for sharpening your shoulder plane iron? My Wood River iron has a wider head and a skinny stem.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I haven't sharpened them in a while. Mm-hmm. It is an odd-shaped blade that you might not be able to grip properly. That may just be one that you go and hand sharpen. I've got a few of those, they're down there now. The dovetail chisel, a fishtail chisel from Lee Nielsen. You can't put that in a jig. You got to do that by hand. So it's good to have at least a little bit of confidence in hand sharpening, even if you use a jig most of the time, because there's always going to be 1 or 2 tools that you just cannot get into your jig. So having confidence that you could hold it firmly and get a decent edge on there is a good thing. That's what I recommend for that. Mm-hmm. I wanted to mention, I forgot to talk about it at the beginning. I did finish a project recently. You want to see it?
Oh, yes.
People who follow me.
I've already seen it.
I know you've seen it. It's in your backyard.
Yeah.
You ate a meal off of it already.
Yes, I did. It was tasty.
This is my big green egg table, and this is a project coming out on the free site pretty soon. That's an XL big green egg. Those of you who don't know, I am a huge barbecue fan, and that was a fun little project. So if you don't follow me on Instagram, you should. Go check it out on Instagram. I got lots of video stories. Well, you might not be able to get to those stories, but posts relating to this build. And that's Sapelli.
When do you anticipate this coming out?
I don't know. The footage is over to Todd. We've got to make plans for it. To Todd. There's a lot that has to happen.
Gotcha.
So we're working on it.
I had a shop teacher email me, and he told me that his class is working on a big green egg table.
Really?
Yeah.
For who?
I don't know.
For the school?
That's the class project.
That'd be great if it was if the school had a big green egg to just use. Sounds safe. Okay, Paul has a live edge table that needs cleaning. He says a light sanding and a fresh coat of finish. It looks like the original finish is an oil. I'm thinking of cleaning with Murphy's oil, doing a light 180 sand and applying a couple coats of Danish oil with the sanding to 220 in between. I'm wondering if there is a way to confirm that the previous finish is oil. Also, if the original oil finish wasn't Danish oil, could I ruin the surface by using a different type of oil than the original? Okay, so I don't know exactly how you would determine if it's an oil, but generally speaking, oiled surfaces kind of look like very close to the wood finishes. They're matte. There's really very little sheen other than maybe what has developed over time from things rubbing on it. I finished our rocker with tried and true oil, and it kind of had a dull look to it for years. But as people sit in it, it's amazing how it burnishes the surface. So have you ever noticed that? Like the seat of the rocker, go look at it. I'm serious. Don't be sarcastic. I'm the sarcastic one. Uh-oh.
Uh-oh, and there's one that's crying.
Hey, be careful coming down the stairs. We got a crying kid. Sorry. Okay, I'll wait till she's gone. Sorry. So Ava was just upset because she couldn't find Nicole. So sorry about that, but it's life. I'm surprised it doesn't happen more often. So anyway, the seat of the rocker has gotten a little bit more shine to it over time from butts being on it. And it just burnishes the surface and gets a little bit of a sheen. So if you see a little bit of a sheen, it could still be an oil, is the point that I'm getting at here. But usually oiled materials kind of just, they have that dull matte finish look to them. So I would probably not recommend the Murphy's oil soap. I don't see why you would need to do that. Obviously, that's something you do to finished furniture as a cleaning step, but I don't see why you would need to do that if you're going to sand. Anything that's on the surface that you can get off of there with Murphy's oil, you could get off with a little bit of 180 sanding. So skip that. It's just adding another variable to the mix that you don't need there. Do your 180 sanding and then hit it with some oil. Bottom line is, if the oil sits on the surface and doesn't go anywhere, then it might have been a film finish and you may not get anywhere re-oiling it. If it absorbs, then you're off to the races. It should be just fine. I would use the Danish oil as a good product. Put it on, make sure you wipe off all the excess because you leave too much on there, especially if it's a pre-treated surface that may be somewhat sealed. You may have trouble with that curing, right? Going to my next question. Zippity-doo-dah. Oh, and if it was a different type of oil before, as long as it was truly an oil and not an oil wax, you should have no problem bouncing between oils. It shouldn't be an issue, but a lot of times there's other components in those finishes like wax. Okie dokie. Jason has a question. He says, have you ever made a dust-free area in your shop for electronics? I use my laptop in the shop for my CNC. I want to make a cupboard or drawer to dock my MacBook inside while using an external monitor. I've heard of creating positive pressure inside things. I was also thinking of making a hole for a small fan with a filter over it. The fan would blow into the area, cooling and then creating positive pressure. Do you have any thoughts or advice to share? Okay, so this is not something that I've done a lot of. And there's lots of good information out there on ventilation and what the proper way to do that is. I don't think one fan is the answer. I think you have to have, when you're saying a cupboard, I hope we're not just putting this laptop in a drawer. I think you need a little bit more space to cool properly, and you're probably going to want 2 fans. It's really best, from my experience with this, to have one fan that's pulling air out and one fan that's driving air in. The positive pressure situation, I don't know, you might create a positive pressure, but I don't know that you're actually going to ventilate properly to exhaust all of that heat. So look into AC Infinity. She all right?
She's fine. She
just couldn't find you?
She wanted a banana.
Oh, of course. I wanted a banana and I couldn't find you.
Yeah.
Look into AC Infinity fans. Amazon sells them. They are fantastic. Very quiet fans. I put them in my desk where I have 3 RAID drives in a small cabinet. And it wasn't until I had a fan on one side blowing hot air out and a fan on the other side blowing fresh air in that I was able to actually get that cabinet cooled down properly.
Paul said, my son heard Ava cry and started to cry too.
Oh no, a kid crying is contagious.
She's fine. She just wanted a banana and couldn't find me.
Yeah, she's very
And Mateo is oblivious.
He's like,
what?
He's at whatever video game world he's locked into right now. Okay, Karen says, do you ever send router bits out to be sharpened? Do you have anyone to recommend? I've been trying to keep mine sharpened, but I'm still learning, and I've got a few that really need a good professional sharpening. I don't have a suggestion for you, Karen. I've never sent a router bit out for sharpening. I'm going to throw this out to the chat room. Mm-hmm. I don't know where Karen lives, but some places do take by mail order. You could just send them a bunch of bits and have them sharpen them up. Does anybody have a service they could recommend for Karen where she could send out her bits to get sharpened?
Does Forrest do it?
Forrest does blades. They will do blades of different brands. They will do...
I wonder if MLCS does it. Mitch, are you watching?
I don't think they do sharpening.
Yeah.
You may try Forrest, okay? Forrest, they make blades, but they do sharpen a bunch of other things like jointer blades and planer blades. I don't know that they do router bits, though.
Devin made me laugh. He goes, don't apologize for crying kids. Life impacts us all. My son had to tell me he had to poop while I was presenting on a conference call yesterday. We're all BBC dad now.
Yeah, there's all weird stuff going on. Mateo was doing a conference with his teacher, and I thought he was just goofing off.
Yeah.
So I was standing there, and the laptop's real low. Yeah. So it's got that perspective where you just see the goofy dad in the background, and I'm looking over his shoulder with a cup of coffee going like, and I realize his teacher is on the other end watching this. It's like, oh, jeez. Anyway.
Jack Dalby said, I would try bits and bits.
Bits, or bits and bits?
Bits and bits, bits.
Remember the bits, or is it bits and bits?
I don't know.
They sent us some bits.
Yeah.
I thought it was bits and, is it bits and bits?
Bits. I thought it was bits. It's just bits.
Bits and bits, he's right.
Bits and bits.
I thought it was bits.
No, it's just bits.com.
So stupid. That'd be interesting if they do sharpening.
Sharpening.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on. We should start.
Yeah, they do. They do have sharpening.
We should start a competing brand.
Resharpening services. They do have sharpening services at Bits and Bits.
Bits.
Bits. We rebranded you guys.
Yeah, you're welcome. Gary, I'm not even going to try to pronounce your name, Gary, says, "Hi, Mark. I'm getting ready to do curved fronts on the jewelry box. I don't have a spokeshave or rasps yet. I can't get a spokeshave from Lee Valley for a long time. Rasp may be the same. I'm in Canada, so getting similar Lee Nielsen tools may be a no-go. Contemplating making a router template and getting 98% of the way there on the curve." Okay, I'm going to make this quick. He's using Jatoba or Jatoba. Could you please share any thoughts? So he wants to flush trim. The trick with the jewelry box is it is a slight curve. It's not too severe, but it's tall. We're talking about drawer fronts here on a jewelry box. So trying to route those could get a little bit dicey, right? Because in one half of the drawer you're going with the grain and the other half you're going against the grain. It's possible. It is definitely possible, Gary. You just have to be really aware of that grain. You may have to shift your template from one side or the other. If you have a bit with a bearing on both sides, that's the most effective, as long as it covers the full height of the drawer front. But the bottom line is anytime you are doing a flush trim operation and the piece starts to get really tall and you're taking that whole bite at once, things can get dicey. I do get a little bit nervous about that. So I'm not going to say it's impossible, but Jatoba, I never know how to pronounce it, is a very hard wood and it will fight back, right? Mm-hmm. So if you're gonna do this, maybe test it first. Have some toilet paper in case you drop a little Hershey squirt. It's gonna be nerve-wracking. Get back as close to your line as you possibly can so that the router table you are trimming off the absolute minimum. And I would highly recommend have something holding, like a cradle of some sort, to hold your drawer front so your hands are a good distance away. If disaster happens, you just ruin the workpiece, you don't ruin your fingers.
Kevin Hahn has a scraper question. New to scrapers, first time using, I got good shavings on the epoxy, but sawdust on the wood. Do I need to work on my burr or scraping techniques? And Scott K on this sharpener wanted to know if you can show us how to sharpen that mouse scraper. Not right now, obviously.
Yeah. Well, that's the good thing about the mouse is because you don't have that inside curve, it's actually easier to sharpen than a gooseneck scraper.
Interesting.
Okay, so if you are getting sawdust, yeah, for sure, you're not sharp enough. Maybe your burr has broken off or is dulled. It's definitely something you want to look into, possibly getting a more aggressive burr on there. Just go through the process again, resharpen it. Some woods I find, just depending on its density and its properties, some are more just easier to create shavings from. Think about a hand plane, works differently in different species and is a little easier in some than others. Card scraper can kind of be the same way. Even if you're just removing sawdust, if we're talking about maybe like the last smoothing step, sawdust is fine. It doesn't, it's not that big of a deal. It's not an emergency that you need to go and resharpen that thing. As long as you are effectively smoothing the surface and removing material, even if it's sawdust, it's still doing something, right? But that does indicate that you probably want to dress that edge. So yeah, I don't really have all the stuff here. The whole thing with the mouse that's nice about it is when you are burnishing the edge, you could it's a continuous smooth line. You can go all the way around and burnish that edge. There's no weird inside hooks or anything. So you have 100% effective scraping surface on one that's shaped like this.
You could do like a quick Instagram video or something, right?
Well, I have videos on how to sharpen it.
Yeah, sure.
Card scraper.
Yeah.
I think I even did one on a gooseneck, or is that in the guild?
I think it's in the guild.
Yeah.
Robert Cameron did a super chat and said, have some coffee on me.
Okay.
That would be very painful, Robert.
Drink it off of them, like a shot, like a college girl taking shots off her belly.
Thanks for your content.
Off of some dude. Don't mind the little bits of hair in there. It's fine.
Jacob Wright did a super chat.
That's how you know you're partying right. When you got a hair in your mouth.
I haven't had any luck I haven't had any luck contacting Benchmats. Do you know?
Yeah, don't bother.
He's not doing it anymore.
Yeah, what happened was he was collaborating, this is as I understand it, he was collaborating with a friend who had a gaming company, and he would make big mats for the purposes of large tabletop games.
Yeah.
And then I guess whatever the partnership was, they stopped doing the bench mats. I think that dude still does gaming mats, and I don't know what the status is. I have no idea. So I don't think if you contact Benchmat, you're gonna have any luck at all. Let me see if I can contact the dude that was doing this for me, because he was gonna make another one for me, and it just hasn't happened, but that's fine, because I wasn't paying for it.
Right.
But let me ask him, because the guy who made the gaming stuff, it looks like he still does do it, so he should be, whether it's for gaming or for a workbench, what's he care?
I need a new mouse pad. Let's see. Do you know of any other sources for equal products, or is it silicone the new hip trend?
Silicone mats are probably going to be it, man. But I mean, I don't think anyone's doing that custom stuff, though. I mean, it's a really cool product. Anytime I'm at the finishing stages of a project and I don't want to dent the work, and I want a little bit of grip when I'm sanding things, I throw that thing on the workbench. It's fantastic.
So Jacob, if you just send me an email, Nicole at thewoodwhisperer.com. That will be my reminder to get you the information from Mark on the mats.
Okay, Jesus says, recently I got a Festool spiral router bit to make mortises with my router. I've used it like on 8 mortises and a dense hardwood, not sure what, but it looks like Paduke, and maybe a dozen mortises in softwood. Now it's covered in black gunk and it burns the wood like crazy. Is this normal after this amount of use? Can I clean it with some household cleaning products, or should I try to get a bit cleaner? Bit cleaner is fine. I've got some CMT orange colored bit cleaner that works great. You could use simple green. It works perfectly fine. Just soak it and then start to brush the gunk off of there. There's a lot of things at play here, and there are 2 scenarios that can really dull a bit quickly and contribute to the amount of gunk on it. One is softwoods. A lot of softwoods are very resinous, so as you're running that bit through there, it's heating up, you're getting a little bit of that resin on there, and it just kind of snowballs. It just becomes worse and worse. When you're working in really dense hardwoods, especially, what did he say, Paduke? Man, that's some hard, oily stuff. So as you plunge that bit in there and you're starting to route that, you're gonna create a lot of heat to be able to get that bit to run through there. So while it doesn't sound like 8 mortises is a lot, well, 8 mortises in Paduke is a lot for a bit to endure. And the way that you actually do the routing can affect it. So if you are staying in place too long and you're not moving fast enough, it's always a balance between safety and speed. But if you're not moving fast enough and that bit stays still, it's just sitting in the same spot, building up heat, and that's gonna blue the bit, and you're gonna, you know what I'm talking about. That's really bad news. This is why something like the Festool Domino, the reason their bits last so long is because the bit is spinning, but it never stops moving. It's always like a windshield wiper. It's going back and forth. So those bits last a really long time, even in really, really hardwoods, and you don't see them burning as much. Movement and feed rate is a huge factor. So if you didn't properly feed it, or you took too long, or you had a resinous wood, all these things could certainly ruin a bit in short order in the amount of time that you've used it. So it's certainly possible. Try and clean it though, but a lot of times once you get to that point, if it truly has built up that much heat, it may not be a good bit anymore, unfortunately. But definitely try to clean it first. And also hit it with a little bit of blade lubricant or wax. That can also help reduce friction.
GeForce Racing 20 is in the chat and says, good morning, Spags. How's the video for limited tools coming along? We have not done anything.
Stop asking about it. Yeah. Forget I said anything about it. No, just kidding. I haven't moved any further.
And we need help with the kids before we can actually...
We need help with the kids. We need to get business stuff going.
Yes.
We need to get, you guys know how this whole situation is going down with the virus.
And stay-at-home orders.
We're now starting to get to the point where we're close to making judgment calls about whether someone should come to work or how things happen when they come to work. So it's hard to say when things are going to happen, but I'm not operating at full speed here. So I want to get to that as soon as possible. I could tell you, in order to launch that project, we have to launch a new website, which means I have to also wait for John to be available to code up and get us an entire new website for that. So there's a lot of moving parts. That's the problem with, the good thing and the bad thing about social media is if I just brain fart an idea out, I could be like, hey, look what I'm doing. But then people are like, well, when are you going to do this? You did that a month ago. Where's the goods, you know? So
Old Ohio angler said, he put in a show title, "Stop asking about that."
That's how you that's how you know we're a friendly bunch, right? You ask questions, let's stop asking.
We know G-Force.
Just stop asking about that. All right, I got a bunch of questions and we're going long.
I know we are.
Let me rip
long.
through these.
All right.
I want to make sure we get all the Patreon questions.
We can
Slider
always
says,
go to the
I'm going to make it quick.
Rapid fire.
Rubo-style workbench was revolutionary, but it resembles the Roman workbench. Does it? I looked at the Roman workbench, which I actually, until your email, have never looked at. It doesn't look similar to me. I'm curious, where is the thin blue line between following a particular style and adapting solutions to your needs? Well, when it comes to something like a functional piece of shop furniture, I find the blue line, and I pee on it. All over it, because I don't care. You know?
Okay. I thought you were going to be fast.
Sorry. Yeah, I mean, when we're talking about a workbench, you're adapting things to your needs. It's a functional piece of furniture. I don't think it really matters. Monsieur Roubaud is not going to come after you to accuse you of taking his ideas, which he took from someone else. So I don't really think I don't really worry about it, especially with shop furniture. On a grander scale, speaking more generally, where's the line between, you know, copying elements and plagiarizing elements versus, you know, trying to follow a particular style? That's a big question.
Big topic.
Yeah, and I don't think we have time to delve fully into that, but I always say that I'm not really someone who prides myself on my designs, so that's why I have a very loose policy about people using the things that I design, because I just was influenced by 20 other people, you know, and everything I do is taking little bits and pieces from other people that have taught me great things, so I don't know. Totally inadequate answer.
Can you even copyright furniture or trademark furniture, really? No.
No. I mean, there's. Let's not get into it.
Okay. Okay. Move to the
We've
next
talked
one.
about this in the past. Fine woodworking, pop woodworking, both have articles, I believe, that address the issue
do the giveaway.
of Copyright.
Scott K has to poop, but doesn't want to miss the giveaway.
Okay, I'm going to add these last questions to the after show.
Yeah, we'll do the after show.
Let's do the giveaway.
Okay.
I got 3 things, Nicole, so you're going to need to get 3 winners.
Oh, crap.
How do you want to handle it?
I don't know.
We should have talked about it ahead of time.
Just the way we normally do. You say what you got, and you say if you want it.
Okay, let's do it quickly. You ready?
But say the object.
The object.
Hey, firm grip.
I got a set of firm grip gloves.
Yes. What size are they?
Large.
Large.
They're all large, and I typically take a large in any glove, but I find these to be snug, so you do have to wear them in a little bit. But this is a large firm grip glove with a little gel thing. Say glove in the chat room if you are interested in getting this. And in fact, Nicole, we've got a box of these.
Okay.
So
how many?
So take a few.
Okay.
Grab a few names.
What's a few?
Just whatever you want. Look at that. You see that box?
Yeah.
It's full of gloves.
Firm Grip is very generous.
They're very generous. So thank you to Firm Grip, and this is us sharing the love.
Yeah.
So say gloves in the chat room, and you may very well find yourself with some gloves.
So, and here's the thing. If I select you, please follow through, because I actually still have the David Marks DVD. Somebody won it, but never
claimed it.
Followed up with me.
We'll give that away later.
So maybe one of you will get the DVDs with the gloves.
I have a ton of stuff to give away. So next week, we're going to do a heavier giveaway focus. I just wanted to get a few of these out this week to lighten the load.
Lots of gloves.
Lots of gloves.
U.S. only. I should have said that, because we're taking
Yeah, U.S. only.
We're paying for the shipping.
So just pick some people.
Okay. So one of the first people that said pick me, Vincent Sanders. You're going to win some gloves.
Okay, Vincent Sanders.
Email me, Nicole@thewoodwhisperer.com. Vincent. Shoemaker Woodworking. You too get some gloves. Nicole.
You'll get gloves. And you'll get gloves. Okay.
So I'm putting everybody in my little spreadsheet.
And
here.
Chuck Rice.
Chuck Rice. Get some gloves.
I like a guy with name that sounds like food. Give me some Chuck Rice.
Jesus Sanchez. How do you spell Barrazas. You get some gloves.
Okay.
All right.
Shall we move on?
Yes.
And we'll have more gloves next week for those of you who are really excited about gloves. All right.
Yeah, you can get Firm Grip gloves exclusively at Home Depot.
Well, don't get them now.
Well, You can do curbside pickup.
Sure, you can. Go
I
get
got
those.
a curbside pickup.
Get those
hey,
curbside
it's
gloves.
Gardening time. These are great.
Okay, you ready?
Just protect your hands.
Here's the deal. These are not the brand that's on the package. I bought snappy, self-centering bits like this. So I'm going to say it ahead of time. Just say bits in the chat room if you're interested in the bits.
What are the bits for?
I'm going to explain it, but
All
I
right.
wanted to get the people a chance to put it in there. These are self-centering drill bits of various sizes, great for installing hinges if you need to get a screw located perfectly centered in a piece of hardware. And these are, again, I think these may be even like a Rockler brand. I'm not sure what the actual brand is, but I don't believe they are the Snappy brand. I took the Snappies out and Jason put them in here.
Okay.
And it's nice and organized. So it's random. There are no promises. These are used, but they still work. So somebody's going to get these bits.
All right.
I should have said say bits, bits, bits.
Bits.
All right, so pick your bits winners.
How about Rick? Rick says he needs. So Rick Escandon, did I say that right?
Iskandin.
Rick, email me, Nicole@thewoodwhisperer.com, and I will send you these bits.
All right, this next one, guys, it's going to knock your socks off.
I'm going to put my email in the chat so people
If you're wearing
don't
socks,
misspell my name when they're emailing me.
Yeah, if you're wearing socks, prepare to have them knocked off.
What?
See this?
The people that got gloves are pissed at you right
Yeah,
now.
I know, sorry. Should have led with this.
You probably should have.
This is the Edge, Easy Edge thing from Woodpeckers. We showed this on the show not too long ago. Comes with one chamfer bit, like a straight bit, and then one for roundovers. I will say, I guess just as a kind of disclaimer, this is a prototype. I think it was 3D printed. So they do not actually have these in production yet. I think I just saw like a production update. Well, I'm not using it,
Okay.
and I don't think, as long as I let people know that this, I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. It works just fine, right? But
Yeah,
it is a prototype. So unless I get an email from Woodpeckers today telling me not to give it away, this is far better off in someone's shop being used than sitting in the corner.
That's true.
So it's a great tool. It's a very cool thing. But I am usually using my router or a block plane to do the work that this does. But that doesn't mean someone else can't find some great use in it. So I'd much rather see this in someone else's shop. They sent me a little wall hanging bracket for it. Just say Peckers. Peckers in the chat.
Everybody's going nuts on this. Way to go.
And the cool thing about this, I mean, like I said, I don't know if there's any liability issues here, but I don't think so. It's a perfectly good piece of equipment. So yeah, there you go. So I'd rather see that in your shop than mine.
This is a hard one, so I'm just gonna put my cursor over here. Wow, lots of people. Tony,
cool thing about that
Tony,
is,
you're a little late on the gloves. I'm sure I have an extra pair. I'm gonna give you some gloves.
10 minutes later, gloves.
Tony,
gloves.
You're not live. Tony,
you might want to scroll your bar. Scroll your bar to the right. You might have the DVR function working.
Tony. Orsmek, I'm going to give you some gloves, so email me at nicole@thewoodwhisperer.com.
Yes, that's what you get for being late.
Yeah.
You know, there's 15 minutes from now, people are going to be in the chat room. We're not even there going, Peckers. Okay. I think the cool thing about this is that, like, this isn't even out to the public yet. So it's kind of neat that someone's going to have an opportunity to play with this thing before it's on the market.
So many.
Like I said, I don't know. If I get an email today and whoever wins, I apologize if I can't give it to you, but I don't see why it would be a problem.
Yeah. You know what? Stumptown, you're in the chat every single week. Stumptown Woodworks.
Stumptown!
I see you. You got the Woodpecker. Woodpecker! So,
There you go.
There you go.
That's a show, my friends.
Nicole@thewooodwhisperer.com.
Okay, so next week we have a powered headgear filtration system, that peak safety thingamajig. We have the MLCS Rocky router, the battery powered router, which I'm picky about these things, so I don't want another battery brand in my shop. But it is a great router that someone is going to use and love. Lots of gloves. Oh shoot! I think I might even have a saw over there. It's gonna be epic. It's gonna be awesome.
More giveaways.
More giveaways. So I'm gonna go light on questions next week so I can make room for the giveaways.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. And I still have a guild project to give away.
Okay. Do it quickly.
And that is to Jeff Berry. Jeff, I'll write you in Patreon. You want a guild project. So
good job, Jeff.
Yep. We done?
Yep. All right, so listen, we have a after show coming up immediately after this. I'm probably going to go pee-pee. I'm going to go potty real quick.
I wish we had more coffee.
Well, we have a thing that can make more.
That's true.
And then we'll come back and do the after show. If you are a patron, any of the patron levels, you have access to this after show.
Oh yeah, let me put a link in.
And it's patreon.com/woodwhisperer if you want to sign up for that. The after shows,
Did I make
it's a lot like the normal show, just shorter and more aftery.
And off topic. Well, we were kind of off topic always.
More off topic. There's more likely.
Oh man, there were 2 super chats too. Should I do the super chats real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, so Jeremy Spence did a super chat. Oh, he's looking at the turbine system. I'm sorry, I didn't see these. Looking at a turbine system, lean toward the Fuji Minimite 3 or the Semi-Pro 2. What paint can these handle that would be good for cabinetry?
I hate when people spend money and I can't answer their question.
Yeah.
I don't use paint a lot, guys. It's not something that I use very often. The
Contact
3-stage,
Fuji.
yeah, Fuji can certainly help you.
Super great customer service.
But one thing I found with paints, depending on the grade that you buy and the brand, some of them are really, really thick. Others are a little more watery. Some you'll have to dilute more than others. These are things that I'm just not that familiar with, because you know how many times I've painted something with an HVLP setup? One time.
The Hall tree?
Yeah, 2 times. Dos times. And that was milk paint too.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely contact Fuji, do a little bit of digging, but you're gonna wanna find one that is either already the consistency, that a 3-stage, the Semi-Pro 2 is a little bit underpowered. The 3-stage should certainly be able to handle some paint, but just how much dilution you're gonna need to do in order to get a good spray pattern out of some kind of paint.
And then Baron B says, Mark, those diamond paddled sharpening sticks that you were mocking on Wood Talk last week are great for sharpening curved scrapers like your mouse.
Oh, are they?
That's what he says.
Okay,
Baron.
maybe I'll try that next time.
Baron knows.
Yeah,
All
just because I
right.
make fun of it doesn't mean that it's bad or that I'm right.
Yeah, no, that's for sure.
All right, well, thank you for watching, everybody. We'll see you in the after show. And those of you who aren't in the after show, we will see you next week.
And there's the link to the Patreon post for the after show.
Okay, cool. Bye.
Bye.
See ya.